When you have to shoot, don't talk.
Hey, thanks for joining me for another Trap House podcast. Great guest today. Marty Meierotto is with us. He's out of Alaska. You've seen him on TV. He's a writer. He's been in several publications. He's got a book out. Does a lot for the trapping community, and he's got some great stories about his trapline adventures and outdoor experiences in Alaska. So we're going to talk to him and kind of, get the whole scoop, get the story, and all that good stuff. First, I do want to say thanks to all the supporters out there, liking and sharing, keeping this all, afloat. That goes a long way. We got to give it up to the sponsors as well. We have j3o.com. That's J3O Outdoors. Jeff Haggerty makes a great line of products. Perfect for water trappers. We don't have a lot of water trapping segments, or hardly any at all, for this season of Hoosier Trapper Outdoors, but that doesn't mean that we don't dabble a little bit, and we highly recommend his products that are on the market, and they work well. So check out his website. We also have Top Lot Stretcher Company with us. Their website is toplotstretcherco.com. Check them out. They have a full line of trapping supplies, for handling stuff, and we're big fans of their adjustable stretchers. So get it straight from them. Check out their website. We also have weebyknives.com. Check them out. Great line of knives. We use them for everything from fur handling, skinning stuff, fleshing knives. There's different levels you can get there. Check out their website. Great line of products as well. Then, of course, home of the top dog and jet fuel, Hoosier Trapper Supply. Wouldn't be here without Hoosier Trapper Supply, that's for sure. So definitely check out HoosierTrapperSupply.com. We got everything from starter kits to you name it, hardware, lure, bait, urine. So yeah, and we're on all social media, so find us there. See, last but not least, I do want to say join something. Here's a Fur Takers Cup. There's Fur Takers of America, National Trappers Association. Get involved at a state level. We're fighting the antis every day, so that's very, very important. There's links in the description if you need to find those sites. Yeah, so I'm gonna quit rambling. Let's go talk to Marty and see what he's got to say. All right, we got a great guest today, Marty Meierotto. Is that right, Marty?
You got it.
I'll take it. It wasn't smooth. But thank you for joining us on the podcast. So you're the real deal Alaskan trapper. We just want to talk to you about your adventures and everything you've done in your life and trapping career, I guess you could say. You've been on TV, you've got a book out, and you've done some really cool things that a lot of people find interesting. So if you would, just kind of start us at the beginning. Give us a little background of, where you're from and how you grew up and how you started trapping.
All right. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, south of the Duluth Superior area. And my dad was a big hunter, and he trapped some. He wasn't a big trapper. But when I went with him on his trap line when I was a little kid, I knew that I was hooked, and I still am. But anyways, that's the seed, I guess. And then I started trapping, and as much as I could down there. And the older I got, the more I started dreaming about trapping wilderness, out, all the old mountain man books and stuff. I just devoured all those. Anyways, Alaska started becoming the place to be in my mind. And eventually in 1985, I guess the major catalyst was my brother, Jeff, said, when I graduate college, I'm going to go to Alaska. And I said, I'm going with you. So that's how we got started. We just came up. We didn't know anybody, or we didn't know anything. When somebody would say, oh, where are you going up there? We were just stumped because it was just Alaska. That's all. So we were Yeah, we didn't know anything. But anyways, we came up here, and the main drive was to find a trap line out in the wilderness. And I mean, there was a lot of fits and starts and stuff, but we eventually we made it, and I'm still at it, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So that's it in a nutshell as far as me getting here.
Where'd you end up landing? Where?
We went to Anchorage first. Anchorage to me was a really big city. I mean, it was a nice place, but it wasn't something I came 3,000 miles for. I wanted woods. And anyways, we sat there for a couple of days in a campground, kind of half-heartedly looking for work. And finally we both decided, this is too big of a city. So we went to Fairbanks, and that seemed more manageable, a smaller place.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of tried to start scratching out a living and looking for a trap line, and eventually it all worked out. We found one, and yeah, a lot of growing pains.
So do you actually have to line up a trap line up there, or can you go out and establish one on your own?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's the United States. You go trap wherever you want, but
Right.
like it is everywhere else, if somebody else is trapping there, they would prefer that you didn't.
Right.
So up here there's kind of an unwritten code of, oh, that's so and so's trap line, so you don't trap there. And when out in the bush, there's so much out there, it's usually not an issue. It's like, okay, well, he's trapping this valley, I'll check the next valley over. And for us, establishing a trap line on your own is something you can certainly do. You can find a spot and start trapping, but it takes years to get the trails in, build cabins if you have to. It's a lifelong endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of times it's easier to find somebody who has a trap line that doesn't plan on trapping it anymore, and you make a deal with them. Whatever that might be, depending on what equipment's there, what traps are there, how many miles of line, what kind of animals you can catch. And so we kind of decided to go that route, let's find an established line and go from there. And that would make it a lot cleaner than trapping a year and having somebody fly in and say, hey, what are you doing here? So,
Right.
Having an established line is certainly the way to go.
So did the first one that you were on, is that the one you're still on to this day?
Yes. We looked over and we talked to a bunch of trappers. It was real helpful to talk to local fur buyers and go to the Alaska Trappers meetings, that because we didn't know anything and we didn't know anybody. So that kind of helped to get to at least know where to look. And we talked to a number of different guys, and we settled on where we ended up. The guy seemed really cool to this day. Matter of fact, I just spent the 4th of July with them. They've been our lifelong friends ever since.
Oh, okay. So does he still trap then, or is he?
Oh yeah. The group of people I hang out with are pretty much misfits as far as social things go. Everybody's pretty much a hopelessly addicted trapper,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it could be worse.
So to back up in Wisconsin, were you primarily a water trapper or a land trapper? Or?
Well, I started out, on foot, of course. I was just a little kid. So there was one small creek that was close enough for me to walk to. But mainly it was fox and raccoons. And I was a pretty accomplished skunk trapper, but they weren't worth anything then. So my mother wasn't too happy about that. But yeah, mink, mainly fox and raccoons was what I mainly hoped to get. And of course, fox was the big challenge. It took me a while to figure out how to catch a fox.
Right.
But yeah, it was pure accident when I caught the first one. But yeah, that was kind of if you were a fox trap, where I grew up, if you were a fox trapper, you were a good trapper.
Yeah.
That was just a given because you could catch fox. So.
Well, that was kind of I mean, in the 70s and 80s, that was the thing to catch. That's for sure. Everybody wanted to be a fox trapper, and some were very successful, and some were in the middle, and then some never did get the hang of it, but
yeah, I think I was more towards the bottom rung on that one. I didn't have to spend too many nights late at night skinning fox, I'll tell you that.
look where but I'm not sure I believe that. Look where you ended up. So what are you catching on your line now?
The bread and butter for me is martin. I'm in martin country and lynx as well. Up here, a line is kind of known as a martin line or a cat line or a link. Some people call them link, but that's it's martin or lynx pretty much in the interior here. Water stuff, there's some guys that just get after mink or beaver, but for me, the bread and butter is lynx and martin.
Do you have any wolves or wolverines or anything like that, or is that different?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love chasing wolves because just like fox when I was a kid, that was the challenge. So I try to spend, if I see wolf activity, I'm gonna chase wolves. But it's up here you have daylight, you've got a couple hours of light, and you can spend the day setting up a handful of wolf sets, or you can spend the day putting in 10 miles of martin line.
Right.
Oh, it's kind of a juggling act. It's what you want. Yeah.
Is the wolves, is that all snaring then?
No, I use snares and traps, and most guys will tell you a combination of both is the best. There's places where you just can't set a snare. It's too open.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to use both. And I'm by no means the know-all of wolf trapping, but I catch wolves. I enjoy it, but there's better wolfers than I am for sure.
So at what point did the TV show come along, Mountain Men, and how did that happen? Did they reach out to you, or?
Well, it started out as I'm involved with the Alaska Trappers Association, and the president, who's a good friend of mine, said, "Hey, there's this guy." This was I forget what year it was. I was younger and prettier then, anyways. He said, "There's this guy that wants to do a pro trapping article on a wilderness trap line, and I thought of you. Would you take him out there?" And at first, I didn't want to, but he said, "Well, trapping's been good to you. This is a pro trapping thing. I think it would be good." And anyways, so I agreed to it. And he came up. His name was Bill Heavey, and I didn't know it, but he's a writer for Field and Stream magazine, and he wrote an article about his trip out with me. He just came out, and I took him around the trap line and showed him a few things. He went home, and when he wrote an article in Field and Stream magazine, I think it was about that time when all these reality shows started popping up, and the phone started ringing, and of course I wasn't interested, and eventually somebody knocked on my door. one thing led to another, and it was a pretty, it was an all right experience, and I love to write, and I wanted to show. Hopefully, it showed through, some of the drama that they like to throw in there. Hopefully, it shows that trappers are good guys, and we're not out to kill because we have this bloodlust we can't control. Hopefully, it showed a normal guy trying to live in the woods and make some money out of being there if you could. So
Yeah.
if it didn't show that, then I didn't accomplish my goal. I wasn't out there I could care less whether I'm on TV. I had no idea it would get as popular as it did. I was actually quite shocked, but hopefully it did some good for us trappers.
Yeah.
I think it did. We always talk about how shows like that, like Mountain Men and some of these other outdoor shows, just getting trapping in the public eye more often, getting them used to that. And it's not such a shock value when someone that doesn't know anything about it first comes across it. They actually have some sort of baseline, So yeah, I've watched the show. I think you did a good job portraying that.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have any control ultimately what they end up doing, but at least the group of guys I worked with, they were on board with what I was hoping to accomplish.
Yeah. So that's that's some pretty remote stuff.
Your trap line, do you have to fly to it to get to it?
Oh yeah, that's one thing that was hard to get across was how, Alaska is remote. It's not like I'll take the road and then it's a couple of miles down a 4-wheel drive trail. It's not like that. There's no roads.
Yeah.
There's no trails. It's wilderness the way it's been forever. So yeah, remote, and it's hard to get to. I got into flying because I wanted to get to my trap line. I didn't have any love of flying when I bought an airplane and started to learn to fly. That came later. It was, I got to get to my trap line. If you lived on an island and you like fishing, you'd probably own a boat. That's the way it is up here. For me, trapping in the bush is the ultimate life goal for me. So getting there, you have to have an airplane. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
I've been out there for 35 years, 36 years. I've never seen anybody out there that I didn't invite, and they came in by plane, of course.
Right.
I've never seen another human. I look down that river and I've never seen another human being come up that river in my life.
Isn't that something?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, here, if it's navigable, there's somebody floating down the river at some point.
Well, it's fuel. It's fuel, and where I'm at the head of a river, so it's pretty small, and you just can't carry enough fuel in a boat to go that far.
I got you.
Yeah, it's just so far out. Yeah.
I think a lot of us would dream about this or see the mystique of this or obviously the appeal of it, but then then there's a whole logistical side that probably just escapes most of us, just to be able to do what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes, it's you're all in on a bush line. You're all in. You don't go do it for a few hours, then come home and do something else. In the old days, that was home. When you got out there and the plane flew away, you lived every minute of it. I mean, that was what you did. There was nothing else.
And I would assume
so it's a huge commitment.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
I would
You
assume
gotta love it.
you learned pretty quickly what to do, probably what not to do.
Yeah, because out there, if something's broke, if you don't fix it, it stays broke. If something needs to be done, if you don't do it, it's not getting done. So
Yeah.
it takes a little while to, even brush and trail. You're getting tired. You don't wildly swing the chainsaw or the axe. You're thinking, okay, if I get hurt, I'm in a lot of trouble. And yeah, so it takes a little bit to get adjusted to it. But I mean, I love that. I love that remoteness. It's just you and nature.
Yeah.
There is nothing else. So I crave it to this day.
Have you had any situations that altered that perspective? Well, obviously you haven't. So you're.
Well, I've had times where I've questioned my sanity. My wife, Dominique, she spends as much time as she can out there with me. And, I got sick and almost didn't make it out of there. And she was sick once and almost didn't get out of there. And that was the trigger point for me to go, I got to fly. I have to be able to, because there were no sat phones in those days.
Yeah.
It was, I would give Dominique a kiss on the cheek in October, and I'd tell her I'll try and be home for Christmas. And that's the last she heard or saw of me. So yeah, there's things that happen. I don't worry about, the bears are all denned up, but I don't have any worries of actually, anything in nature. It's getting sick or the potential of getting hurt.
Yeah.
Then in the old days, I thought, well, if I break my leg and I don't get out, I die, and I die happy. But as I get older and I have a daughter, it's like, if I break my leg, maybe I still want to keep living.
Yeah.
So yeah, things have changed a little bit that way, but yeah, it's you're always going to have close calls, flying and close calls, and then, being sick or getting stuck in overflow, or, there's always something that's challenging. Maybe that's why I like it, the challenge of it.
So originally you were hiring a pilot to fly you in and drop you off.
Yes.
So then
Yeah.
at what point then did you decided to get a plane and learn to fly? And
Well, after when I first got out there, it was me and my brother. That was our dream. So the first couple of years, we talked about airplanes because we thought, well, anyways, he got an airplane. He saved up his pennies and he bought a small airplane. And so he started flying, but then he started not coming out there. He wasn't a full-time trapper anymore. He had other pursuits. And so I stayed out there, and that's when I realized that it wasn't enough for him to have an airplane. I have to be able to do this myself. So and then when Dominique got sick, that was it. It was like, I don't want to leave the woods, but I can't go back out there, especially with her, and
right.
roll the dice like that. So I got into flying, and it turns out flying is pretty cool.
So you were a firefighter in wilderness areas.
Yes.
And you were a pilot. So you taught yourself to fly, and then you went to that job then?
Well, what happened was I bought an airplane. I didn't know how to fly it. I just bought an airplane. I found an instructor that taught me to fly it. And then I did eventually get my private pilot's license, but I learned to fly it. And I was a smoke jumper, and I thought, well, I'm just going to smoke jump. I don't want to, a lot of the guys that when they got a little older, to finish out retirement, they would go to an office job, and I wasn't going to do that. So I thought I would just smoke jump through my career. And I always trap, because I'd always trap every winter, all winter long. That's why I got into that job, is because when winter came, when trapping season came, I was laid off. There ain't no fires if you got 3 feet of snow. So
Right.
it worked out perfect for me. But then as I got older, smoke jumping's a pretty arduous job, and you have to pass a physical fitness test and all this. And as I got older, I started thinking, I don't know how much longer I can even pass this test. I still could and enjoyed working hard, but running a mile and a half in 9 minutes and 30 seconds was getting pretty tough on me. So I thought, well, I've done all this flying, and there just happened to be they were looking for a pilot to fly fires, and they were looking for somebody with fire experience. So that was when I started thinking, well, maybe if I get the rest of my ratings, commercial and instrument ratings, maybe I could break into that. And with some help from where I worked, I was able to do that. So I finished my career flying fires instead of jumping.
So were you dropping off? Were you actually landing then when you were, or would you do both?
For smoke jumpers?
Yeah.
Well, I would actually work for Alaska Fire Service, and smoke jumpers are a branch of those. So I didn't actually drop firefighters.
Okay.
They didn't get in my plane and jump out. I played more of a support role. The smoke jumpers would jump out, and I would, fly gear to a nearby village where it could be helicoptered in, or I would fly detection, looking for new fires, or just more of a support role than the actual initial attack stuff.
Okay. So that job, that was kind of your original job up there, and that's just kind of worked out perfect in terms of wanting to do what your schedule, obviously, as a trapper.
Yeah, I was a trapper first and foremost, and I still feel that way. I tried commercial fishing, and trying to commercial fish and trapping, I was in financial ruin already, and that wasn't helping any. So I thought if I found a job where I could at least make enough money to get me to the next season, through trapping to the next season.
Right.
Fighting fire, that fit in better. It was such a gamble with commercial fishing, and it is somewhat with fire. But even if Alaska wasn't burning too much, I got shipped all over the United States.
Okay.
At least the Western United States, where they use jumpers. And I did that. So it was more dependable, steady work than commercial fishing. That's why I stuck with it.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of fires going on down here, and we don't, Alaska's a little bit out of the loop when you live down here. So we don't think about Alaska having, we know there's fires up there, but not, but of course, when they're up there, nobody can get to them. It's all remote areas, I'm assuming. So.
Oh yeah, we got, that's why I'm here today. It's all smoked in. I can't fly. There's over 2 million acres burnt already, and there's fires everywhere. There's a couple by my trap line I'm pretty worried about, but that's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
Right. So does that bother you to sitting at home and not being out there?
Yeah, I'm the happiest when I'm in the woods. So yeah. I just feel like I'm waiting around right now. I mean, there's plenty to do around the house, but I don't know. I just want to get out.
That ground up there, once the fire goes through, I mean, generally speaking, it's a good thing. here for the most part. Does it take a long time for those areas to bounce back then? Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fires. I mean, Alaska looks the way it does because of fire out there. It's just one big fire. There's a fire scar on top of fire scar out there.
Mhm.
But as far as it's a long-term benefit. If my trap line burns, I'm not going to be catching too much for the rest of my life. You know, it takes
Okay. So it'll
takes
take a long,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't imagine I got more than 100 years of trapping left.
You probably fit it all in one season.
That's kind of my, that's my perspective as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already. After this goes off, I'm going to be trying to convince Charlie to get us a plane or something. I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to go trapping now.
Well, like I said, you know, bush trapping, it's an all-in thing. You know, you pretty soon you got a airplane and yeah, and you're out. It's full time. Yeah, it isn't like, oh, I think I'll hobby trap. No, you don't hobby trap in the bush.
yeah.
No, it's a life.
You're
It's a
all in.
lifestyle.
All us hobby trappers are down here thinking about you being up there, and you know,
Yeah.
Well, the grass is always greener too. There's a lot of stuff that
oh yeah,
can be tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what's some of the really cool things that you've witnessed in the woods or seen, memorable, things like that? Not necessarily things you've trapped, but what's some really awesome things you've seen in Alaska being out in the wild?
I don't know. The main overlying thing for me is just the sense of being in the wilderness. When I think about the trap line and the cool stuff, I usually don't go to a specific incident. It's just this all-encompassing thing, like going out and standing on the river and the northern lights and the silence of the wilderness and then all other stuff too. But that, for me, it's you just, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things a neat animal stuff or seeing, it's not a specific animal or a specific incident. It's just more all encompassing for me.
Yeah. Just the overall, and none of us can relate to that unless you've done it. So,
even the bad days when you get in and you get to the cabin and I must be crazy doing this. But then after a while you think, boy, it kind of tests your mettle, and it's,
yeah.
And after a while, that part of it is part of the draw too, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The challenge of it all.
So now that you have a little bit of leeway, do you normally go for a month at a time or 2 months at a time or a couple weeks or?
Well,
depends on the weather.
Now with the family, it's because my daughter she's 15 now. I find myself, even though I'm retired, I can spend more time out there. I try not to make it more than a couple of weeks, and then I'll fly home for a couple of days and then get back out there. When I was younger and I didn't have a girlfriend or a wife or anything, I left and civilization. I didn't think about town at all. But when you have a family, you can't help thinking, well, I wonder how the family's doing. So I end up spending 2-3 weeks. I try to get home 4 times a winter, maybe 5 times a winter, weather dependent, of course. Everything's always weather dependent.
Right. Those your kids grow up really fast, so
Oh,
it's
I was flying already.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just changing her diapers, and now she's saying, "Hey, can I go fly the plane?"
Does she like being out there too?
She does. She's not hopelessly stricken by it like I am, but if I'm going trapping, she wants to come with.
Okay.
And she runs a few traps close around here, but she doesn't just go out and do it. I'll go out with her and then she'll check them. But yeah, she loves hunting. She'll skin anything I bring home. She's good on a snow machine. Yeah, pretty good with a chainsaw. I try to brainwash her as much as I can.
Yeah, I met her and your wife at the National Trappers Convention.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's when I think we first brought up the podcast to you, and here it is, almost a year later. We're finally getting to it.
Yeah.
you were gone, and we were busy, and finally made it happen. Are you going out to the convention this year, or?
No, I'm not making it this year. There's Alaska Trappers are gonna have a booth there. One of the guys is going down.
Okay.
And he's bringing down, the usual hats and stuff, but Alaska Trappers is kind of an outlet for some good books too. So he's bringing books down.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's well, hopefully you're able to make it down. I think it's in Escanaba, Michigan again, which I think you were up there a few years back, 2018 or 2019.
I was, and I really want to go back. That's really the first time I went, I couldn't believe it. It was everything. It was a trapper's candy store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely want to go back. Met great people, had a blast. Yeah, I want to go back.
Yeah. I know last year they kind of got you roped into getting up and talking in front of the president's meal or whatever it was. And you said, I'm not really a public, you're not so much for getting up in front of a crowd. So
yeah, that's not me.
You'd have time to practice your speech in the cabin out on the line.
Yeah.
Next year.
I love writing, but speaking in public, imagine if I did it more, it wouldn't be so horrifying for me, but
yeah.
Oh well.
You mentioned it, but you did just fine. Nobody could tell that you were, horrified. So
oh, thanks.
So how do you market your fur up there? Will you send it to an auction, or you go through the Alaskan auction, Alaska Trapper Association auction, or?
Well, pretty much all above. It depends. I always like to sell locally to fur buyers here. We've got some good fur buyers here. I tried the auctions and they were fine. They were fine. But there's something neat about one-on-one.
Yeah.
I don't know, it harkens you back to the old days where, okay, there's your fur and here's your money. And yeah, it's just neat. And like all of us, you walk away from all that hard work and you think nobody's going to appreciate that pile of fur more than I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's neat to be there instead of, sending it off and it's gone. And,
right.
I might get some money someday.
Yeah.
Well, in some cases, you probably didn't get money, and it depending on whether you're involved in NAFA going down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There is something to be said for that local fur buyer, which down here, because of the changes in the fur market and not being, what it once was, it's all changed. And to have the local fur buyer, we just don't have that anymore. But when I was a kid, that was the coolest thing, was either just go see a very small buyer who basically just bought in the garage of his house, or going to a larger buyer. I remember the first time going to a larger buyer and being there on a Saturday, and people are lined up, and super busy place. It was in January as things were winding down. So, here that was close to pushing 50 years ago, and it still sticks in my mind as a really neat experience. So, or going to a trapper sale where they auction your fur off, and then of course you got the whole social network of all that. That has definitely got a plus side to shipping to an auction. So.
Oh yeah, I was lucky enough to know Dean Wilson.
Yeah.
He's a legend up here. Yeah, and yeah, that's the way. For me, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Just sell locally, and you can say, I think I'll keep them, or
Yeah.
you stick them in a box and mail them away. You're not seeing those things again.
Right.
That's tough.
So, Dean Wilson, I think, did he have a business where he sold tan fur and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. I actually bought we do taxidermy. So I actually bought a Wolverine from him. Oh, it's probably been pushing 20 years ago now. But so he was well known down here in the trapper community. I mean, people knew Dean Wilson, but
yeah, he was awesome. Super great guy.
Yeah.
Could have been one of Marty's Wolverines.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't catch many of those guys. I catch a few, but I'm not in great Wolverine country, but I catch a few.
I mean, they're kind of an animal that takes a huge area, and they're loners, and they do a lot of traveling. From what I understand, Wolverines.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They cover huge country. Yeah. I never catch. If I catch, I think my best year ever was like 5.
Yeah.
And they're catching Wolverine and holding them are two different things. If you can get them in a 330, then you
got them.
I've never had one get out of a 330. I'll put it that way. I've heard other guys say that they have, but me personally, I've never had one get out of a 330. But I can't always get them to believe that it's a good idea to stick their head in one.
Yeah.
So a snare, even a heavy wolf snare, because they won't choke. They won't. They never stop. Wolverine are wide open until they drop dead, and they don't ever stop. So they usually fray the snare. And a trap, I mean, they devour everything all around them. And and they usually wreck a trap. I mean, if you get them in a number 4, you better have an extra pan in your pocket, because that pan's not going to be there.
Is that right?
Times the trigger's gone. Yeah. So what happens is, the whole fallacy of an animal chews his leg to get out of the trap. That's not the case.
Right.
What a Wolverine does, he's chewing on the trap, and anything sticking below that jaw line of the trap is just trap to him.
Yeah.
He's not feeling himself bite like, ouch, that hurt. It's numb. I mean, we've all had our fingers in traps.
Right.
Yeah. So so they chew the trap, and they end up, and it's frozen. So they end up, if they chew anything below that jawline, there ends up being not much in that trap. That's why I like the 14 jump. If I'm going to set a Wolverine trap, I grab a 14 jump, because yes, it's got the jaws, and it's good and strong, and the teeth hold the foot in place so it doesn't saw around, because Wolverines are dynamos. And then there's that extra little bit holding, on the, instead of just the the jaw, the trap holding, you have a little more,
Right.
and they stay put better, I think. But it's best, a good Wolverine set, it isn't one trap or one snare. I like to set a 330 and then snares and traps both. If you can get them in two, then you probably have them.
Well, I was asking about the Wolverine. So you set up an area. I'm assuming he's probably not around when you're setting that up. So do you have to wait quite a while for him to come back through, or?
Yeah, I'm not in an area, I've trapped the same valley so long. All I know is how Wolverines act there. I'm assuming that's kind of how they are. But in my area, a Wolverine, just because he comes through once, he might not come through again for a long, long time.
Right.
So I just make every so often, and over the years, I know, well, if a Wolverine comes through, he'll probably be in this general area, and I'll make a Wolverine set. But yeah, it's not like you have multiple chances at a Wolverine. He comes through, he does what he's going to do, and you may or may not ever see that Wolverine again in my area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll have a local, and it usually ends up being a female, where they're coming through once a week, and then you can usually figure it out and grab them. But especially those big males, they just go.
Yeah. I think most of the Wolverines are sold in the taxidermy trade, or certainly probably more of a novelty area than I'm assuming that's probably the market that either you look for, or the buyer that you sell to is looking for, I would assume.
Yeah, usually I don't have to sell my Wolverine to a buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll know somebody who wants one, or I'll keep them. My wife puts the roughs on our parkas, so.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And Wolverine make about the best parka rough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's always somebody who wants a Wolverine.
Yeah, yeah.
We have one mounted in our shop. When did you do that, Charlie? That was how long ago?
Yeah, it was back around probably 20 some years ago. It was that one I bought from Dean, just so I could do the mount. So yeah.
All right.
So it's showing a little oxidation. It's getting a little
Faded,
but it's been around a while, but it's still holding up. So
yeah. All right.
So do you said you like to hunt? I'm assuming you probably do you hunt your trap line area, or is that a different?
Well, out on the trap line, I usually try and get a moose out there.
Okay.
Sheep's my favorite, all sheep, and then caribou, and we don't buy meat.
I didn't figure.
Yeah, so it's important to fill the freezer every fall, and it's usually caribou or moose from the trap line.
Are the Dall sheep good to eat?
Oh, they're the best in the woods.
That's
my opinion.
Yeah, others have said that as well.
Yeah, and hunting Dall sheep that can be as addicting as trapping. You're in an incredible country, you're hunting an incredible animal, and it takes incredible work to get there.
Yeah.
And then get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wouldn't think a Dall sheep would taste good, but I've always heard that.
Yeah. We've mounted a number of them over the years. In fact, we've got one to do now. It's just a shoulder mount. It always kind of bothers me when somebody from down here kills a Dall sheep and they just do a shoulder mount on it. Typically we'll do a life size or, the whole thing. But so yeah, most of those guys that are able to have success and eat them while they're there, they always say that they enjoy it. But I always kind of I wanted to hear from somebody that like yourself, because sometimes when you're in the experience of everything, anything's going to taste good. So I just,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like it the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a certain way you like to prepare it as far as eating?
I usually just cook it on the grill. I'll make a marinade, but it's I'm trying to think. I make it different every time. A lot of garlic. I like garlic. But anyway,
go
yeah,
wrong.
I just put it on the grill and grill it pretty much and you can not add nothing and it's still delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, put that one on the bucket list.
That is an incredibly expensive hunt for anybody down here wanting to go on Bell sheep.
I know it blows me away because I just get my sheep tag and go sheep hunt.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, but not, that you got to have a guide up here. If you're non-resident, you have to have a guide. Yeah, the prices nowadays. Whew.
Oh, it's crazy money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't cost me any more to hunt sheep than it does to hunt caribou or moose.
Yeah.
There is, because if you want a doll sheep, there's only one place in the world to get one, and it's a pretty small area.
Yeah.
And Alaska is most of it. There's some in the Yukon, maybe a little in the Northwest Territories, but the bulk of doll sheep are in Alaska.
Right.
So, there's a lot of people out trying to get a doll sheep.
Right. And it's not just American citizens. It's hunters from all over the world.
Yes. And so, me being just an Alaska guy that loves to hunt sheep, sometimes it's hard to find a place to go.
Yeah.
And I've found places that were pretty decent, and there's no secret sheep spot anymore. I'll hunt it for a few years, and all of a sudden more people show up, and I usually try to go somewhere else. It's getting tough to find. There's no secret honey hole for sheep anymore.
Yeah. Can you get it? Can you, as a resident, can you get a tag every year?
Oh, yeah.
License? Okay.
Yep.
Same with moose or caribou or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I've been, because Noah, my daughter, she loves to hunt. It's a real good deal. They have a youth sheep hunt where we can go before the crowds. And so that's what I've been focusing on, is getting her sheep hunting. And so I haven't actually shot a sheep in quite a while, just because I'm hunting with her and she shoots.
Okay. That's probably what, next month? August
1st to August 5th.
Is that okay? So it's
Yeah.
getting real close.
Oh yeah.
When do you start moose hunting then?
Well, I have a December season on the trap line, so I usually don't worry about moose until I get out on the trap line. And
Okay.
December 1st. And moose, they're gigantic. If I can get one with snow on the ground and drive a snow machine to them instead of putting them on my back, that's a plus. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes the meat taste better, knowing that you worked that hard for it.
Yeah.
I do want to know a little more about lynx, because that's like a bucket list thing for me. Like, we catch bobcats and stuff all the time, but a lynx would be like the ultimate wild big cat in my book. Is there anything in particular type of set that looks like your go-to set when you're after them?
Well,
Mainly
lynx are, I mean, the hardest thing about catching a lynx is getting to where the lynx is at. You got to be in lynx country. A standard cubby set catches a lynx. And the trouble up here is they're so cyclic that,
Yeah.
sometimes it's almost like you can't keep them out of the traps, and then other years you see a lynx track and you stop and stare at it for 10 minutes because you haven't seen one in so long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the trouble with lynx. But for me, if the lynx are coming back, if I got lynx out there, I just make a standard cubby set and you'll get them. Lynx like to walk bunny trails. So when they're thick, I'll set a link snare right in a big rabbit trails. I'll just set a link snare, and the bunnies go underneath. And often as not, if there's enough links around, you catch them there. And they like to, a snow machine trail is just another big rabbit trail to the links. So they're walking your trail a lot. They're kind of, another good link set is if there's something sticking out of that trail close by, the top of a spruce that's sticking out of snow a couple inches, or a tuft of grass or something. It seems like they investigate that. They sniff it a little, and almost like a scent post set for a canine. And they'll check it out. And I don't know why that is, but they do. So if I just put a little beaver caster on a little spruce sticking out of snow right next to my snow machine trail, a lynx that may walk by a cubby because they're not hungry. When the rabbits are thick, food's literally an arm reach away, because the bunnies get insanely thick. They're not looking for food. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So you got to get that curiosity going. And just that little kind of a scent thing will get those ones that'll look at a cubby and just walk by, because they like fresh stuff. They're kind of snobs that way. Frozen rabbits aren't really that good a bait for lynx, because it's just another frozen rabbit.
Right.
They want, they want a nice fresh steak, nothing old and frozen.
Guess you can't blame them.
Mainly for lynx. Sorry, I got a phone ring in there. Mainly for lynx, I think getting that curiosity, getting them to think, not food, but what is that? Some guys use attractors, flagging, even I've seen some guys use those discs, those old computer discs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen guys do that. I don't do that. I don't think it hurts anything. I don't do it. Certainly if you're like a grouse wing, I use those a lot, and that helps. Sight, cats hunt by sight. Any set that'll catch a bobcat will catch a lynx.
Yeah, I was gonna say that what you're describing is pretty similar to catching cats down here. So bobcats, so
yeah, same.
So
thing.
are the lynx kind of on their own agenda? Always kind of use the analogy with bobcats they'll do what they want to do when they want to do it. Kind of like a house cat attitude, it's just I'll do it when I get to it, kind of thing. But
yeah, I've never seen any evidence where anything I did at a set made a lynx come running up to check it out.
Yeah,
they just kind of do their own thing, and if you can get a trap in the way, you got him, and if you didn't, then he goes on his merry way.
Yeah.
Guys
tell me they'll have like trail cam pics or video or whatever, but trail cams, and they'll have their set there, and the bobcat will just sit there and just stand there and just stare at it, and then he might commit, and he probably will just walk off like whatever. But
I've seen evidence of that in by tracks, where they come up and you can see where he sat down.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the set.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps going. Or lots of times they walk right by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard call from trappers. It's like, I know stuff's just walking right by my set. What am I doing wrong? So you're not doing anything wrong. It's just you got to wait it out, or you're gonna have to deal with it, because that's everybody. Everybody has that.
Yeah.
We should probably plug this book, Marty.
Oh yeah.
I haven't read it yet, so
what?
In the land of the wilderness. What can people find in this book that you have here available?
I have always written trapping articles. I love to write. It's just something I've always done. And I talked to Randy Zarki, our president of our Alaska Trappers Association. He's really interested in getting trapping or Alaskan stories out there.
Yeah.
So, and that's how Alaska Trappers got kind of into the promoting books. Anyways, I talked to him and he's read a lot of my articles, and he said, you know, I think it would be interesting to do that. So anyways, that's what I did. I picked articles I've written over the years that I thought people really liked. I put them together, and I tried to make it, you know, not just like, oh, if you're not a trapper, you wouldn't find this interesting. There's like human interest stories. I write humor. So there's humorous stories, and there's some serious stuff in there that, you know, isn't necessarily trapping, but it all has to do with being in the wilderness. You know, that's why I ended up with the title, because I thought, what's the one overlying thing here in all these stories, and it's wilderness. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Speaking of humor, we heard that you tell jokes.
Me? I tell bad ones.
I didn't know if, since you retired, you know, from firefighting and all that, if you're going to be a comedian or something, you know.
My wife doesn't think I'm funny.
You got a bad joke you want to pass along, or you want to pass on that?
No, nothing off the top of my head. I guess it's kind of usually my jokes end up being just me sticking my foot in my mouth, but yeah.
That's great.
Sorry, Marty, are you fully retired, or are you working doing something else in the summertime then?
No, right now I'm fully retired. I am a certified flight instructor, and I keep telling myself I should do something like that, but I, you know, help get other guys in the air. But I don't know. I just love, right now, I haven't been retired that long. Right now, I just love waking up in the morning and, well, there's no ice. I guess I fish with a fishing rod, or, you know, as soon as fall comes along, time to go hunting. And I hop in the plane with a couple weeks worth of food, and I come back whenever I want to. It's kind of a hard thing to get away from once you get into it. So for right now, I'm just enjoying, you know, doing my own thing, spending a lot of time in the woods and flying around and seeing things that I've always wanted to check out. I love to write. I've actually written another book that I will eventually get moving on. But yeah, I write trapping articles, and if it's trapping, I like to be, if you can't trap, the best thing to do is write about trapping.
Sure.
Right? Or read about it.
Yeah. Well, and you're definitely a good ambassador, because you've definitely sparked the interest of a lot of people that have, you know, you've inspired a lot of trappers down here to become trappers, or interested in trapping, or they want to go out and catch some coyotes, or, you know, whatever. So you're definitely a good ambassador for all that.
Well, I hope that is the case. You know, that's, you know, when I'm gone, I would like to think somebody is gonna say, boy, I'm trapping and I remember this guy. And it's not necessarily where you trap, it's just that getting out in the woods. And, you know, a lot of my memories aren't just of running the wilderness looking at wolf traps. It's going up the corn patch, seeing if I caught a raccoon when I was a kid. You know, that's what it's about. Just getting out there and I can't explain it any better than anybody else, but there's just something to it. I think about the young kids out there that probably have that and they don't even know it. And
Yeah.
that's why I try to do things like this, hey, go give it a try.
Yeah.
And then they learn something. So when somebody says, oh, that's bad, they can say, how can that be bad? That's the way God meant it to be.
Yeah.
If you don't kill something and eat it, then something, well, not now, no, hopefully nobody will eat you, but you ain't going to live long. You that's the way it works. You can't get away from that.
Yeah.
And people think that, well, I don't kill anything, so nobody else should. Well, somebody's killing something. Something's dying because you're here.
Yeah.
That's proof enough.
Yeah.
So let's quit bad mouthing each other and try to enjoy the woods.
Yeah. I have found over the years that a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times people that are exposed directly to what we do, you take them out or whatever, they enjoy it. They may not become a trapper for the rest of their life, but they enjoy it. They'll understand it and they'll appreciate it. Have a good time when you're out there with them. Because they just unfortunately, most people don't get exposed to it. So it's, and whoever can kind of get to them first in terms of the message, probably has the bigger influence, so.
Yeah. I've never, not that I take a whole lot of people out, but I've never took somebody out and had them say, I really don't like being out in the woods.
Yeah.
And if you're, when you kill something, it's a deeper thing than
Sure.
Most people are so living this shallow life. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's the way it's meant to be. And, instead of being horrified by it, realize that that's how it has to be. And this animal is giving you food. And yeah, it's not a bad thing
Right.
to feel something when you've killed it. But that's the way God meant it to be. We
Yeah.
can't change that.
Right.
The only thing you can do to stop doing that is to die. I'm not ready yet.
Not ready to end the personal cycle of life yet. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't mind dying out there and having a Wolverine chomp on my bone so somebody else can catch a nice Wolverine either.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's later than sooner, Marty.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Charlie?
No, we sure appreciate you being on, Marty, and like I said, appreciate your being an ambassador for trapping. And I want to say, you said you haven't actually taken that many people out on the line, but actually you take people out on the line through the show all the time. So you have given people a good taste of all of the wilderness line, that's for sure. So sure appreciate that.
Well, I hope they get that message. Yeah.
Good deal.
Marty, you got anything you want to close on?
Oh no, just I would say if people are listening, get a kid out there and show, do them a favor and yeah, if somebody doesn't like trapping and you show them that it's a good thing, then it's not somebody we have to fight down the line to try and convince them of it. They'll know
Right.
firsthand.
Right.
The people that don't like it have never done it.
No.
If they did it, they would, they wouldn't be acting the way they are. You gotta, if you don't understand something, of course you're not going to like it. I guess, I don't know. I'm babbling.
Well, like we said, I definitely appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you at a convention in the near future, and wherever in Fairbanks, so we'll give you a call.
All right. I'm hoping to get to Escanaba. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one up there. The whole town embraces trappers convention, and that's one of the few towns you drive around, there's welcome trapper signs in all the restaurants and hotels and stuff, whereas most towns don't do that. So
Yeah, I saw that when I was there. I thought that this is cool. So,
Yeah.
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 All right, Marty. We'll catch you later.
All right.
Hey, Marty,
you guys
hold on.
take care.
Hold on just a second.
What's that?
Oh, do you offer your books like a wholesale price through dealers or whatever?
Alaska Trappers Association.
Okay.
Just go to their website and go to Alaska Trappers Association, and you'll see there's a number of really good books.
Okay.
I recommend all of them.
Okay.
And there's not that many, but yeah, Alaska Trappers Association has
No,
it.
you meant to wholesale.
I actually meant, is it possible to buy your books to resell them?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we do that.
Okay.
I'm in
What-
partnership with Alaska Trappers, so
Okay.
if you get a hold of Alaska Trappers Association, they'll line you up.
Okay. Okay.
Because I'm unreliable. I might be in the woods and you won't be able to get a hold of me.
Fair enough. I don't blame you.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Marty.
All right, take care. Thanks, you
You too.
guys. Good
Thank
luck
you.
trapping.
That you too.